Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to today's webinar on 7 strategies for building relationships with the board of directors. Ooh, scary. No, just kidding. It's going to be great. Everyone says the board and it's like the board. So now I'm like really excited to see what these strategies are to help the board get on board with your fundraising strategies. And I am super, super excited to have Sabrina Walker Hernandez with us today, one of the most experienced fundraising professionals. And she's going to have a chance to share her 7 strategies with us. But before we get started, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So this webinar is being recorded. You will be able to have the slides and the recording sent out. We'll probably get that sent out Monday next week, something like that. And throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. And we're going to have an open Q&A at the end, so you can ask Sabrina all of your burning questions about the board. The board. And so, sorry, I'm just going to keep saying that. And yeah, but we're going to wait for some of our friends to get here. We'll wait, until like 1:05 or something. And in the meantime, I would love to invite all those attendees who are here to just chat us in. Let us know your name, where you're from, your organization. I know I've been seeing a lot of familiar faces throughout our weekly webinars, and I'm just so happy to have you join us every Tuesday and Thursday. So hopefully you're enjoying your lunch. Is this a lunch break for some people? Yeah, chat us in your name, where you're from, your organization, maybe a question that you have, something you're hoping to get out of today's webinar, and we'll get started shortly. Oh, Sabrina's over in Texas. Nice. Hello, Janice with Fentanyl Solution. Oh, hello. 10 a.m. in California. Good morning. Rise and shine. Hello to Lisa in Oregon. And Russell, hello, with the Girl Scouts of Central California South. Hello. Irene Benson, welcome. Know Your Lemons Foundation, international charity that saves lives from breast cancer through innovative and game-changing breast health education. Very necessary. Chantel, hello, in Michigan. And hi from Jill. Caring for Miracles Foundations. We're based in Jamaica. Nice. Wow, we've got some international folks. Hello, Deb in Pennsylvania. And Techies Without Borders. Never heard of that one. So such amazing and innovative organizations all around. And I'm so happy that we're able to, just hopefully speak some life into this area of your fundraising, and just be able to share some knowledge among all of us. If you have something to share in the chat, feel free during today's webinar, and I'm sure Sabrina will definitely touch base on it. So I'm going to keep going with my slides. So as I had mentioned, we are joined today with Sabrina Walker Hernandez. She is the president and CEO for Supporting World Hope, and she has over 25 years of experience in nonprofit management, fundraising, and leadership. So you're going to want to ask her all your questions today. She grew her operation revenue from, get this, $750,000 to $2.5 million. Okay. And she completed a $12 million capital campaign. So if you have any questions around that, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer those as well. She's certified in nonprofit management by Harvard Business School, and she is a best-selling author. So definitely check out her website and all that she is offering in the world of fundraising. Before we dive in, I want to just share a few points about CauseVox. In case you're new to us here, we are a digital fundraising platform, and we are the ones that basically help you receive all of your donations in a really easy, fast, streamlined way. So you can run your donation forms, mobile payments, campaigns, peer-to-peer ticketing, everything all in one place. We make it really easy and consolidated for you. On top of that, we offer hands-on support and onboarding with real-life people like me. And we also offer top-rated fundraising education in the form of guides, templates, webinars, and courses like today's webinar. And so just a little bit more in terms of our product, we essentially replace all of your clunky, complex, outdated forms and buttons, and we just help you to put everything in one place so that you don't have to run, donations from a PayPal button and events with an Eventbrite form and etc. You can put everything together. And the way that we really help you maximize your fundraising and increase your ROI is through our modernized donation forms. We've put all of today's best marketing technology into our forms so that you convert all of your donors who reach your website. You don't leave any donations on the table, and we help you do that by including a lot of mobile wallets, which just increases flexibility for your donors. So they can choose from Apple Pay and Google Pay and PayPal, even Venmo. I didn't list that here, but I should update that. And then as well as ACH bank transfer. Okay, so you can accept one-time recurring and pledges. All of the donations, all of the donors will be sent an automated customizable donation receipt, and you can have customizations on the form throughout. Also, again, pair this up with your event ticketing. If you want to sell some tickets, they can be free tickets, paid tickets. You can use it for raffles, etc. We just give you an easy way to put it together, including the hands-free peer-to-peer fundraising, which is our bread and butter here at CauseVox as well. We give your participants the easiest way to sign up and just start sharing their campaign out to get more and more donors and raise more and more awareness for your organization. So if you are in the situation where you need something optimized for donations right here, right now, you can schedule a demo with me and I'd be happy to help you take a tour through CauseVox and what that would look like for your organization. You can also go to our blog. We have free fundraising tips that are sent out weekly, so you'll definitely want to subscribe to that. But right now, I want to hand it over to Sabrina so she can get started. So put some happy, fun, amazing emojis in the chat and give her a nice welcome.
Here we go, y'all. So first of all, I'm going to ask for grace because I always have issues sharing my screen. So I am going to need affirmation that you're seeing the right part of the presentation. So with that in mind, let's start with sharing the screen and have that first, tech success, let's just say. So share, and what you should see is, if you could tell me what you see, it would be great. Because I always have trouble with this part. So I hope that you can see the PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna assume that it's a yes. Jenna hasn't said anything to me yet, so let's start.
Yes, you can go ahead and start.
Yep. Thank you, Jenna. Sorry. And you see the presentation, not notes.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I'm here to talk about the 7 strategies for building relationships with board of directors. The question I get, the one thing I hear all the time is, my board, oh my God, my board, like they don't do anything, or they won't fundraise, or they won't do this, or they're micromanaging, or they're overstepping bounds. I hear it all. I sat in your seat, and so I have a different approach. And so let's get into it and listen with an open mind. So a little bit about me. I'm Sabrina Walker Hernandez. I studied political science and public administration. I obtained a nonprofit management certification from Harvard Business School, and I'm a certified consultant, coach, facilitator, best-selling author who helps nonprofits and small businesses build relationships that increase revenue. Now, these pictures that I have here are very intentional. You see me skydiving, you see me swimming with the dolphins, and you see me rappelling. I'm going to tell you right up front, that is not me. It is me, but it's not me. Those are times that I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I had a great experience. Some of them I will repeat, some of them I would never do again. And so that's what I need you to have. I need you to step outside of your comfort zone when you are hearing this information. That is what I want from you. And that is what all I ask as you listen to this journey. So what do? I do trainings, I do webinars and workshops, keynote speaking, leadership, board and strategic planning retreats, executive and fundraising coaching, and consultant. We are here to talk today about this relationship. So the board is authorized by the state and the supporters. The executive director or CEO is authorized by the board. So that is the relationship, the legal relationship. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a partnership. And a partnership is negotiated and developed with mutual respect for each other's roles and responsibilities. That is one of the key things. You have to go into this with respect, mutual respect, and understand for each other's roles and responsibilities. So with that in mind, how do you develop this? What is this partnership? What does it look like? And so I want to stress that with the partnership, your organization's health depends on an effective partnership between the board and the executive director, CEO. I use these terms interchangeably. So for me, I'm going to, from this point on, refer to it as the CEO position. But the partnership is going to require some things from you. It's going to require regular and open communication between the board chair and the CEO. It's going to require willingness on everyone's part to examine assumptions, because a lot of it is assumptions. You're going to benefit from regular and systematic feedback and assessment. And as you grow and as your organization becomes more complex, you do have to refine this and go in and tweak it and see how it works. So one of my superpowers, as identified to me by a board member and a donor, is building relationships. That is my superpower. And so with that, knowing that superpower, I came up with this approach called the builder approach. It is the builder approach. Even wrote a book about it. So you're getting the condensed version of this, and we're going to go into it. And I want to leave some time for questions, because there are always people always have questions when it comes to this. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it, again, let me remind you, I sat in your seat. I have done programming, I've done operations, and I've served as a CEO for 15 years. I increased in that time my annual operating budget from $750,000 to $2.5 million and completed a $12 million capital campaign. I started and grew an endowment to $500,000, and I had a 180-day cash reserve. And my organization was located along the Mexico-Texas border in the third poorest county in the United States. I say that and I repeat that because I hear all the time, well, you're in a big city and you have access to different types of resources and different type of board members. Or, you're here and it's international and you have a larger pool. Honey, I was along Texas-Mexico border in the third poorest county in the United States. So if I can do it, the whole goal of this thing is you can do it. It's just going to take a different approach, perhaps. So let's start with strategy number one. Strategy number one is brand yourself. It starts with you. You have to build trust with your board members. You have to have open and honest communication. You have to be consistent. You have to be reliable, and you have to work hard. And those things sound generic, but here's one thing that you can do that will lean into that for your board members and help start that partnership relation is run an efficient, focused, and collaborative board meeting. That's one of the simple things that you can do to start in this journey of branding yourself. I don't know the skills, experience levels of everybody that's on this call, but I'm going to start from where I know to this end over here. So if you are in a situation where you are a founder, and I've talked to several founders, one of the biggest problem is you're sporadically calling meetings. You don't have a set schedule of meetings. You don't have an agenda. It is not focused, right? And so you're not going to get the caliber of people that is going to help you get to your goal if you don't create an environment in which they know when meetings are. They know when they come into that meeting that it's going to be structured. They know what is going to get done, right? All the way over here to my more experienced people who you got the agenda, right? You got the meeting is set every month. Everybody knows when the meeting is. It's on the schedule, but you've gotten to a place of complacency almost, and you're not interjecting any fun into your board meetings. You're not interjecting any mission moments into your board meetings. And so this is for everyone. Run an efficient, focused, and collaborative board meeting. Let's talk about collaborative. Collaborative means you're not creating the agenda yourself. There's a process for input from your board members. We're going to get more into that. So, number one is brand yourself. Easiest way to do that, to start that journey, is run an efficient, focused, and collaborative board meeting. Efficient, you have an agenda. People know the date. The agenda is 1.5 hours at most. It has the item, it has what you're going to discuss, and it has who's going to discuss it. It focuses on the strategic goals and the directions of the organization. That is efficient, that is focused, and that's collaborative. And we're going to get more into the collaborative piece as we move into this. The other thing that we're going to talk about is strategy number 2, which is unleash their potential. Okay, this one, you see here, this is the fundraising side. For lack of a better word, this is the fundraising formula. I sat in your seat, and I'll say it again, I sat in your seat, and you're wearing many hats, a lot of hats. And so for me, I had to figure out where I was spending my time, what was going to be most efficient for my time, where did I want to focus my board members' time. And so develop this formula after some research. So fundraising formula, 10% of fundraising is identifying. That's identifying potential donors. 10% of fundraising is qualifying. Once you identify them, you got to qualify them. That means, just because their name is on a list or just because they gave to someone else doesn't mean they're going to give to your organization, right? You got to qualify. Do they have the ability to give? Do they have an affinity towards your mission? So that's qualifying. 60% of fundraising is cultivation. That's building relationships. 5% is asking, and then 15% is maintaining those relationships. So what do? We judge our board by that 5%. It's called fear of the 5. And we're like, well, my board members don't ask. And they don't want to ask for money, and they just have a problem with it and they're not helping and we can't get this done. And I was okay with my board members not asking. Don't remember comfort zone, not asking, because only 5% of the fundraising process is asking for money. I wanted my board to focus on cultivation, which is 60% of fundraising, and thanking, which is 15%. So that's 75%. 75% of fundraising is relationships, building those relationships and maintaining those relationships. So you got to unleash your board members' potential. You got to identify their strengths and lean into those strengths. Some of your board members are going to be door openers. Where do door openers fall? These are the people who not afraid to introduce you to people in their circle. They would talk about your organization. Those are your door openers. They fall in the identify and the qualify in that 20%. Your cultivators, those are the people who take people to lunch, who pick up the phone and make phone calls, who would invite people on tours or to events. Those are your people who will ask people for advice. Now, the askers, those are your 5%, the people that are not, don't have that fear of the 5. I had a board of 21. I had 3. Those are the people that they're not afraid to make the ask, right? And they're good to have. But remember, I had a board of 21 and I had 3. And then you have board members that are great thinkers. They're willing to do a handwritten card. They're willing to deliver a cookie basket to someone. They are your thinkers. And so all of your board members don't have to be askers. Every time I say that word, I'm slipping up there. They can be great door openers. They can be cultivators. They can be sidekicks when you make the ask. They can be thinkers. I'm going to share this story with you because I see people rolling their eyes. So one of my biggest fundraisers was a door opener. Her name was Millie Smith. When we interviewed her for the board, she said, I will not ask for money. I don't feel comfortable asking for money. It is not something that I'm willing to do. Had I adopted the normal traditional mindset, I would have been like, well, you're not for this board, right? Because we got to pay the lights. We got to provide services. We need money. What I asked her was, what are you willing to do? And she says, I'm willing to introduce you to anyone in my circle. So immediately, her strength, she's a door opener. So Millie worked at a bank and she worked in a BSA, which is the security, the back office. So you kind of get the personality and the person I'm dealing with. But what she did was she introduced us to the bank owner, not the bank president, but the bank owner. We developed a relationship with the bank owner. And not only did she develop that relationship and introduce us and lended her credibility as a board member to the organization, she would pop into his office and she would say, oh, this is happening at the organization. Oh, I just wanted you to know that this was happening. And she would strategically say those things. And as we moved into this $12 million capital campaign, guess who became the co-chair of the capital campaign? The bank president. And we were sitting in a meeting. The story is going to crystallize to give you hope. We're going through this capital campaign process and we submitted this proposal to the Maybe Foundation and we get a no response back. I'm devastated. Probably one of the first times that I cried at work because I don't know how we're going to get this done. And so we call a meeting of our capital campaign committee and I let them know that. And the co-chair said, well, let's just go up there and let's just go talk to them. Let's go make our case. And I'm sitting there going, oh, okay. In my mind, I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't have money to pay for flights, but these people are committed and this is what we got to do. So I said, okay, I need birthdays and I need to, flight schedules, how are we going to coordinate that? And just look at me. And they're like, the bank has a private plane. I was like, whoa, I didn't know. I didn't know I was rolling in those types of circles, right? So I got to fly on a private plane to the foundation, go in, make a presentation, and walk out with a $350,000 check. Who do I credit that to? I credit that to Millie. Without that door opening and without that building that relationship, there was no way that I could get in a plane with a group of people, fly to Oklahoma, get a $350,000 check. There was no way that would have happened. She was a door opener to that. And that continued to be her pattern over and over again. With this bank, they appointed 2 members to our board and have been doing that for the last, God, I'm dating myself, for the last 20 years. And each board member is responsible for raising $5,000 in a year. So multiply that. What's that impact? Anytime we had to do a board retreat, guess what boardroom we used? We used the bank's boardroom. Anytime we had to pass out information to the public, the bank was accessible to us. So that's a door opener. She never asked for money, but she opened the door. So you trust and believe that you identify their strengths and you lean into them, and don't judge people because of the fear of the fine. You can start prepping them and educating them and building their confidence to work towards that, if that's where you want to go. But lean into cultivation, those relationships, and lean into where their natural strengths lie. So next is strategy number 3, inspire them. You have to inspire your board members. You have to share the mission. Something simple at the top of that efficient, focused board meeting. Put the mission statement. Have the mission statement at the top of the agenda. Have the mission statement at the top of the agenda. You got to share the mission. You got to have mission moments. Start your board meetings off with mission moments. It's a game changer. Mission moments, what does that mean? That means you have a highlight of a client story. So let me give you a couple of examples here. One is, if you're a youth serving organization, you have a youth come in and they say, this is my name. This is what school I go to. This is why I like coming to this after school program. This is why, why I don't, why I have to come, and board get to ask some questions, right? If you are a animal shelter, bring a dog or a cat to the meeting, introduce them, say what their journey is. Say if they need medical treatment or something like that, share their story with the board members. It's about a heart connection. If you are a zoo, I've seen this one done, bring a snake to the meeting. I ain't gonna say we all, I have fear of snakes, right? But imagine if you bring a snake to the meeting and I actually get to touch it and realize that it's not slimy, or I get to at least look at it live in person without a glass in between us. It still breaks down a barrier and it puts an emotional connection. Now for those, because I try to talk to the people who say, but we deal in, domestic abuse, or we deal in, trafficking, or we don't deal in the warm and fuzzy. You still have mission moments. You can get creative. I've worked with a domestic violence shelter, and we did stories, videos at the top of the meetings from a different perspective. So, for example, we all know about the bag that's packed in the closet, right? Ready for the person to get the courage to leave. Tell the story from the perspective of that bag. If you deal with the unhoused population, tell the story from the perspective of that box that, the journey where you're sleeping in the box, and then tell the story of now this becomes a moving box into someone's new house. Tell the story. Get creative. Start every board meeting off with a mission moment. It takes 5 minutes. What are you doing when you do that? You're giving your board members stories that they can go out and tell their circles of influence. Because people remember stories, they don't remember stats. So tell stories, mission moments, make resource development and fundraising fun. Now, how do you do that? Well, I had a board member, and I know you say statistician and fun doesn't come into play, but really, she created this grid that the organization still uses because that's the way her brain worked, and it turned out to be a fabulous tool. So you got 1 point for every meeting that you attended. You got 1 point for every $1,000 that you raised. You got 1 point for every committee that you served on, that process. And then the goal was to get to 15 points for the year. Now, where the fun came in was everybody who got to that 15 points, we had a board member who would then take everybody out to a great steak dinner at a restaurant that was known to be a kind of exclusive in our community. So that board member took on that cost. We didn't take on that cost, but that's the plan that we came up with. Now, do I see that it was worth having it and for the organization to take up that cost? Yes, I do. I would have done it over and over again because it became a competitive environment. I serve on a museum board. They make resource development and fundraising fun. We just did an annual campaign that raised $322,000. How did they do that? They inspired us. They divided us up into teams. They gave us a team name. We had a goal. There was updates constantly about this team is outbeating this team and we're almost there. And, they're coming around the bend. We gave the whole campaign a theme. It was more of a cowboy theme. I'm in Texas, of course. So I was on the rowdy something. I can't even remember now, but I'm competitive. So you got to make it fun. You got to have a plan. This is one of the things that can change the game. Have a plan. Do your board members know what they're responsible for? Have you said each board member is responsible for raising $3,000? And this is the path to get there. You're going to sell, you have to give $1,500. And then the other $1,500, you sell one table to an event, and the table is $1,000, and you sell 5 raffle tickets for $100. And that's your $3,000. People need paths. They need a plan. They need to know what they're responsible for and a pathway to get there. We can't keep saying, well, we just need you to solicit your people. We don't have a goal. We don't know, just, you got to give people a path. So that's one path. Let me give you another example of a path. One of the boards that I serve on, their get is $5,000. So here's the path. I, as a board member, at minimum have to give $500. They have a dinner. I have to sell 2 tables at $1,500. I have to secure 1 live auction item and 1 silent auction item. Whatever the live auction item goes for, that goes towards my $5,000 credit. Whatever the silent auction item goes for, that goes towards my $5,000 credit. And then I have to get a sponsor for the golf team. But I know very clearly what path I have to take and the plan to get there. So strategy number 4 is you got to leverage their connections. You got to give your board some prominence. Are they listed on the letterhead? Are they on the website? Are they featured in the newsletter or on social media? Is their news release prepared when the member joins the board? Are they sworn in by a judge. Make it important. Are they sworn in front of their families? Do you give them a plaque that or certificate that they can hang in their office that says, I'm a board member of this organization? All of these things is leveraging their connections, because you're making it publicly known to their circle of influence that they are a board member with your organization. They're lending their credibility to the organization, and you need to highlight that, and you need to give it some prominence. They're volunteers. They're giving of their time. So give it some prominence, give it some importance. Elevate the importance of serving on the board. Show that appreciation. These are simple things that can be done that will elevate how they perceive the organization. Very simple. Letterhead, website, doing a feature newsletter spot on them on social media, doing a news release. We're proud to announce that, Jillian Lewis has joined the board of, X, Y, and Z. Jillian's background is this, and we are so happy to have her to be a part of the mission of X, Y, and Z. At an annual meeting, have them sworn in collectively. When your year in, every year, have them sworn in. Get a judge to come in. Does it have to be a judge? No, but it lends prominence. Take a group picture of the board with the judge after they've been sworn in. Invite their family to come watch the process. They're taking time from their family. So these are all the things that you can do to leverage their connections and give it some prominence, to let people know that, oh, they're members of your board. And strategy number 5 is discover their stories, expressing interest in their work, in their lives. This includes recognizing their birthdays, their marriages, and other big life events. This is talking to your board members, knowing what is going on in their life. Do you know their inventory? And let me give you an example of what knowing their inventory means. If you're talking to your board members, and you'll learn, I do better with the storytelling. So I had a board member, Joe, and Joe, we're talking and we need live auction items. And he's like, yeah, we're going to go down. We got a condo on the island, and the family, we're just going to go da, 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 da. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, he got a condo at the island. Okay. And I'm talking to another board member in Sisto, and he's like, well, yeah, we got a timeshare in Mexico. The family and I are going to go down there for spring break. I'm like, he got a timeshare in Mexico. Why are we struggling for live auction items? Filed away. Really close to a board member. I speak her name because I love her. She passed away from breast cancer. I saw one of the organizations work in that area. But Ella had a QVC shopping problem. Point blank, period. So I knew Ella had a QVC shopping problem, and she had a little room that she would put her little QVC stuff in. And so I like, we need silent auction items. Ella, can I go in your QVC closet? Sisto, we need some experiences for this live auction. You have a timeshare in Mexico. Do you think you would be willing to donate that? Yeah, I never thought about that. Joe, the condo, would you be willing to donate that for use for an island packet? Yeah, I never thought about that. You got to know their inventory. And the only way you got to know their inventory is you got to get to know them. You got to talk to your board members. That open communication, all of those things. It is, do you know their communication preference? This is the one that is a game changer if you can wrap your brain around it. This is what I hear all the time. They don't respond to emails. I get nothing. I get crickets. Everybody is not going to respond to email. Let that sink in. Some people are text people. Some people are pick up the phone people. Some people or WhatsApp people. Some people are pigeon people. You have to know their communication preference. Send out an email. That's great. But you're going to keep getting what you're getting. You're going to have that one who likes email and respond to it really fast, and they'll do that. And then you might have the other, it's going to be crickets because that's not their style of communication. I had a board member. He saw the email. He's like, okay, yeah, the email alerted me that you needed something, but I didn't take it serious until you picked up the phone and called me. So you got to know their inventory. You got to discover their stories. You got to know what makes them tick. You gotta, these are the things that you have to do to invest in the relationship of your board members. You got to equip them and you got to educate them. You got to provide board education. That efficient focus agenda that I talked about needs to have at least 20 minutes of board education on it. 20 minutes, designate about 20 minutes of board education to talk about what is cultivation, to talk about what is stewardship and saying thank you, to talk about whatever those topics are, but you need to provide some board education. Here's the assumption that you're making. You're making the assumption that people know what it is to serve on a board. And there are books, but there is no legal way to run a board. Say that again. There's best practices, right? So even if you got someone who served on a board before, they're going to bring the baggage from the other board and say, well, that's how we did it over here. And if you have an organization that's been around for a long time, well, that's how we've always done it. So you have to provide board education on best practices. This industry is always evolving. So use and talk and look for those best practices and provide that board education. You got to give board members scripts, social media posts, sample letters, and emails. If you want them to do it, you got to give them the tools to do it. Now, for the person that's rolling their eyes and saying, I give them and they still don't do it, you're sending it to them via email. You're not picking up the phone and saying, hey, did you get that email? You're not you're not sending a text to say, hey, did you get that email? This is what I need you to do. It's all in the follow-up. And here's what I know. People, the CEOs, one of the biggest fear, because I've asked this question, is they don't want to seem bossy. Let me say this. You are the boss. You are the expert on the content in the nonprofit arena that you're serving. They're looking to you for guidance. So it is okay to hold your board members accountable for what they say they will do. It is fine. It's not fine to be rude, but it's fine to hold people accountable. Let me give you a scenario, an example. So you're in a board meeting, whether it's virtual or in person, and Sabrina says that she's going to reach out to Sarah and ask Sarah this. As a CEO, Sabrina's reaching out to Sarah. Okay, you know, Sabrina, sometimes she says she's going to do something and she don't really follow through. So what you need to do, you just, wait 24 hours, send an email. Hey, Sabrina, I wanted to check in and see if you reached out to Sarah. Cricket, you get nothing. Pick up the phone. Hey, Sabrina, want to check and see if you see the email, but I know you said you were going to reach out to Sarah, want to check on that. And she's going to be like, no, I didn't. Life got so busy. I forgot. It's no problem. Just as a reminder, let me know the status if I need anything, if you need anything to support you, whatever. Fast forward another couple of weeks, you ain't heard nothing from Sabrina. You're like, let me call her. Hey, Sabrina, just reaching out. What did Sarah say? Oh my God, I forgot to call her again. As soon as I get off the phone with you, I'm going to call her. That's what I'm going to do. I swear. You say, okay. About a week before the board meeting, because you know it's time for a report, pick up the phone, email Sabrina, say, did you talk to Sarah? We got the board meeting coming up. I just want to make sure that we're on track with the follow, what need to get done. That's how you do it. That's holding board members accountable. It's not getting frustrated and saying, I sent an email and they didn't respond to me, and I just do it myself. That's a trap that we fall into, and it's a very easy trap to fall into. They're there to help you. They are your force multipliers. And does sometimes that take a little bit more follow-up from you? Then yes, that's what it takes. But you got to be explicit when you're recruiting board members. Yes, I said recruiting board members, about what your expectations are. And you got to have a board expectation agreement in place. So don't take everyone for your board just because they're a warm body. Have a recruitment process in place. Ask questions. Set the expectation. We have an expectation that every board member is going to raise $3,000, and this is how they're going to do it. They're going to give $1,500 personally, and they're going to sell one table at our event, and they have to sell $500 in raffle tickets. Is that something that you feel like you can do? But don't be that organization that says, I don't want to talk to people. I've heard this. I don't want to talk to people about raising money when we ask them to come onto our board, because that's going to scare them away. You're being unfair to the person that you want to serve on the board, and you're being unfair to yourself, because they're going to come on the board. Then you're going to talk to them about money, and then you're going to talk to them about fundraising. And then you're being unfair to yourself, because when you send that email and they don't respond, or they don't sell that table, or they don't do this, you're going to get frustrated. You created the situation. Talk to people about the expectations. Hold them accountable. Have conversations. What they need from staff so they can fundraise easily and effectively are these things. You have to equip and educate them. And finally, strategy number 7, reach out and connect. Look, we're all busy people. You have to be intentional about building relationships with your board members beyond the boardroom. I'm going to stress this. It's beyond the boardroom. You got to meet with your board members. You got to block out some time on your calendar to reach out and schedule meetups with them. This can be formal, informal, coffee appointment, whatever it is. This is the pattern that I use. I had a standing meeting once a month with my board chair. It was a lunch meeting. We're in this together. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's going on. This is where the conversations start, where I find out you have a condo, where you have this, where you have that. This is where I keep you updated. This is where we get on the same page. So now you're not micromanaging and trying to step over into staff territory. That's that. Second, identify some board champions, 2 or 3 people that you're going to build a real friendship with, people that are going to have your back. Why do you need to do that? Because they're board members. They have the credibility with the other board members. When you want to introduce change, when you want, if you have a board member who's trying to micromanage, or you know they're doing something that's not right, these people are going to champion you. They're going to be your voice pieces. They're going to speak for you. So have some champions. My board champion again was Ella de la Rosa. I had Doris Albin. If you notice, it's a woman thing. But I did have another one, Sisto Garza, and he's a male. But I had lunch with them at least weekly. I was in their home. They've been in my home. They met my kids. I met their kids. They were my friends, and it was developing real friendships with them. That's how I was able to raise $12 million. That's how I was able to get over, oh, that's a lot of money. I don't think, I don't think we as a board can ask that. Ella would say, look, these kids deserve this. This is how we're going to do this. This can be done. We cannot operate out of fear. She was my voice piece. And then just the remaining board members, just make sure that at least once a year you connect with them outside of the boardroom, pop by their office, drop in, say hey, check on them. I was in the neighborhood, just came to see you. Those kinds of things. But you got to encourage interactions outside of the boardroom. And I even encourage my board members to develop relationships outside of the boardroom, because they gather good friends and have good friends. They bring that back to a memory that's associated with your organization. So those are the 7 strategies that I have. And I know that there are questions and we have time for questions. So I see one question in the chat, but I really want to be able to answer any questions that anybody have, Jenna.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for that very thorough explanation on how to really just build and nurture your relationships with the board. So let's keep the questions streaming in. Carol has started us off. What type of things should be written into a board agreement? It's a great question.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a great question. So what should be written into a board agreement? So what basically a board agreement will outline what they're committing to for that year. So if you have, for example, I will give this much. If you have a personal give, I commit to giving 1,500 personally. I commit to bringing in, 5 sponsors for the gala. I commit to bringing in 1 sponsor for this gala. I commit to attending 75% of the board meetings. It's those things those are the type of things that are in the expectation agreement. What are the financial expectations that you have of them and what they're agreeing to? What are the attendance expectations that they have and what you're agreeing to? Not only attending regular board meetings, but I agree to serve on like 1 committee, and here's the committee that I want to serve on. So those are the kind of things that go into that expectation.
Perfect.
Let me say something else, Jenna. So here's the deal. You pass out the expectation form. I did every December. December was my month. And they sign it and you get it back. You still got to talk about the expectation form. People are human. They get busy. Now, do you have to talk about it every board meeting? No, but you can put quarterly points in there where you bring out the expectation form and just say, the board chair can say, let's see where we are on the expectation grid. Here's a copy of what everybody said. There's a time for reflection. Let's look at it. Let's see where you are. So it's not a document that goes away. And a lot of people do them and then they go away and they don't talk about them. And then they hold resentment because, well, they said they were going to do it. They signed the agreement, but they're not doing it. And so that's the other thing.
It's almost like a job description. It
should
be reevaluated, right?
Yes.
Just piggybacking off of that, Lisa's wondering who develops the board agreement, the ED or the board?
So this is what I always say, and to my EDs out there, always have a draft. Always have a draft of something that you want your board to look at and to develop. So I went to this training. They talked about board agreements. I think it's a fabulous idea. You have this conversation with your board chair. I would like to pursue that. Here's a draft of different samples that I have. And I would like to present that to the board at the next board meeting after the committee or the board chair reviews or whatever. But always have a draft. Always have a draft of what you want to have approved. Because if you leave it up to, the board is supposed to draft that up. They're not going to do it. I'm sorry. They're not. This is where you have to know that. They're not. You want a marketing plan and the board is in charge of the marketing plan, develop a committee, have a draft. Always, always have a draft or a starting point for someone. This is not their area of expertise. You are the expert. Own that. They are board volunteers. give them a starting point.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just moving on to a couple others. Gosh, we have a lot coming in. We'll try to get to as many in the next 5 minutes. Terry's wondering for her board, which is spread over 5 states, they meet through Zoom. What things can she do to help bring them together?
This is great because I have a board that we meet over Zoom too. I love it. As a matter of fact, I don't go into my car. Anyway, that's not the question that you asked. How do you create moments of engagement or connection for your board that are spread out? This is one of the things that you can do. Make sure, because it's a little bit difficult, more challenging for you because you can't go pop in their office or do things like that, right? So I get that. But what you can do is make sure that your mission moments are very impactful and share those video mission moments. And then the other thing that I found very impactful is, as a part of the mission moments, if you don't have a client, start with a board member sharing their why they serve on this board. And if you can schedule them, so let's say you meet monthly and you have 5 board members, then that's 5 months of whys. And it'll be very revealing to the other people and what's motivating, and it's an emotional connection. So your mission moment can be your board whys, why they're serving on this board, what does the mission mean to them, and how they connect it.
Yeah, I like that. Just helping people to connect with each other on an emotional level, even if they are physically distant.
Yeah.
Russell's wondering, what are your thoughts on a board governance manual? Do you have any samples that you feel are helpful to review?
I have a board governance manual. It's 100 and some page. I charge, this is one of the things I charge for. It's $49. It details everything. When people get it, it's your starting point. It's a little overwhelming, but it has all of your policies, all of your board approved policies, how the board is going to meet, your board calendar, your everything is in this one document. I think they're good to have. But like any document, it has to become a living, breathing document. It's just like your bylaws. When's the last time you looked at your bylaws? Sometimes we only look at things when a crisis come up. So you can go out and create these policies, create these manuals, but someone has to breathe life into them.
That's right. Speaking some truth. Oh man, this is good stuff. Is anybody else here like, this is good stuff? So we have a couple more. So
okay.
Quick. Oh my. Okay. Yep. We're getting more and more. Carly is wondering, what's the best way to keep your board engaged in conversation? You touched on that a little bit with the mission moments. Do you have any other points just to highlight engagement in conversation?
Yeah. This is one of the things that I did. Even in developing the agenda. Can you develop an agenda as a CEO? Yes, you can. You're very capable of doing that. But I used my executive committee to help with my agenda. I came with a draft. We had a standing meeting the Mondays before the board meeting, because we wanted a week before. I came in, we had breakfast together as a group. Here's the draft agenda. What do we need to add? What are your concerns, Chair? What Secretary? You're in charge of, like, the marketing. Is there anything I need to add here? And you created those moments of engagement. See, this is the thing. As CEOs and EDs, we're very, very capable people. We can do all these things ourselves. We can go. Jenna has templates. I have templates. You can go get those templates. And then you give it to the board and you say, okay, approve this. They had no input in the process. You got to create moments of input and engagement for them. So that's the best thing that I can say.
Perfect. Deborah's wondering, as a nonprofit co-founder, with a small nonprofit, she's tasked with job descriptions that have a range from medical director to secretary, treasurer to fundraising. So how does she allocate some of the tasks?
Okay, so you might not like this answer. Those tasks are not going to get you to the fundraising level that you want and the board engagement that you want. Those tasks can be done by a virtual assistant. I'm just giving Jenna, you stop me when I go too far.
No, keep going.
Okay, a virtual assistant. You can get a virtual assistant, and they're all over the world, and they're very inexpensive, anywhere from $10 an hour to $50 an hour. And here's another tool that I'm advocating and have for a long time: chat.open AI. Go there, type this, write a job description for medical director, and it turns it out for you in less than 2 minutes. So you got to learn different tools to help you automate some of those tasks so you can focus on building relationships.
Well said. Yeah, we had a whole thing on ChatGPT just.
Yes, it's a fabulous tool.
Yeah, if you know how to type a specific thing for it, then it'll give you something very close to what you might want. That's great. I mean, so it's 2:01. We had a couple more questions here. I don't know if you want to stay on and answer them.
Yeah, Sabrina. I don't mind staying on answering them.
All right, and then we'll just sign off, but we'll answer these last two. So Carol was asking as a follow-up, how do you handle this with board members that are currently serving and not new board members? So her first question was, what types of things should be written into a board agreement? Her follow-up is, how do you write it with board members that are currently serving, not new board members? Right? I think that was that.
You write it the same way. You come to it with a draft. You talk to your board chair, your board champion, and you say, we really need to do this. And you explain the whys, and you let them, especially in a group that's with, this is the way we've always done it. You need to have someone that they respect from that group say, hey guys, this is what we need to do. Or, hey girls, this is what we need to do. But you, for lack of a better word, you got to learn how to politic. And so have your board champions, and if they're passionate about and understand why this needs to be done, then they will be your voice piece when it comes to the whole board.
That's a good point. And Thea is wondering, any words of wisdom regarding preparing the board for the founder of 23 years to step down and then reinvigorate them?
Yes. I followed someone who had been there for 30 years. So this is what I would say. If it depends. If you have someone in the house that you know is going to take over or succeed into that part, already start having them integrate into board meetings and have a succession transition like that. If you're thinking that they're going to hire from the outside, I would suggest that you talk to the founder and perhaps have some type of interim, but you really have to have a process in place as far as identifying the next person. How are you going to do that? Are you going to advertise it on Indeed? It's all those logistical things. And then, but as far as engaging the board in the process, that is the one thing, not the one. That is one of the very things that they have to do. They're in charge of hiring the executive director. That is their only employee in an organization, the CEO, executive director. And so they need to understand that. And they need to understand that that's the critical position. And they need to know, because the founder has been doing things the way that they have been doing it for years. But that doesn't always mean that it's the best way to do it. And I served in my organization for 20 years. So they need to also know where they want to go and kind of identify what characteristics that they're looking for. So get them engaged in the process of dreaming around who you're looking for and the replacement and what characteristics are you looking for. And then the logistics is executing, Indeed, LinkedIn, all those pieces to advertise, if that's the case.
Yeah, so insightful. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And thank you all for those who stayed on extra. I know we have Sue asking, how do we get that document from Sabrina?
Which document? You scan that QR code right there, it links you to everything that I have pretty much.
Awesome. I also put her website there in the
Yeah.
chat. If you have any questions about donations and you want to reach out to CauseVox, I'll drop our info here. And then also, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us via email. You can email support@causevox.com. And if you have board related questions or you need training, Sabrina, I'm sure is available to
Yes.
assist. So this has been a really wonderful, for me, it's afternoon, a really wonderful time with you, Sabrina. Thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise with us. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Thank
Talk
you.
soon.